Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. The BBC presenter accused of paying a teenager for sexually explicit images allegedly made 2 panicked calls to them after the claims were revealed. The Sun says the presenter, who was suspended today, allegedly rang last week asking, "What have you done?" It writes that it's claimed he also asked the youngster to ring their mum to get her to stop the investigation. The Met Police earlier confirmed it received initial contact from the BBC over the claims, but that no formal referral or allegation has been made. The young person's mother told The Sun that she saw a photo of the man in his underwear on her child's phone. The Director General, Tim Davie, has confirmed the BBC was aware of a complaint in May and has been investigating the case ever since. The US President has arrived in the UK, where he'll meet the King and the Prime Minister. Travelling on Air Force One, Joe Biden touched down at Stansted Airport. Tomorrow, he'll visit King Charles at Windsor Castle before holding talks at Downing Street. He's expected to raise concerns about Brexit, and Rishi Sunak may address America's decision to send cluster munitions to Ukraine. Well, Joe Biden's visit comes ahead of the NATO summit in Lithuania, where the Prime Minister will urge allies to bolster their defence spending. Speaking on Tuesday, Rishi Sunak's expected to say we're seeing unprecedented security challenges. The UK remains one of the few NATO members meeting the alliance's requirement to spend at least 2% of national income on defence. A second child has died after a car crashed into a primary school in Wimbledon on Thursday. She has been named as 8-year-old Nuria Sajjad. Her family has paid tribute to her, saying she was the light of our lives. She embodied joy, kindness and generosity. Well, on Thursday, it was confirmed that another 8-year-old, Selina Lau, had died as a result of her injuries. The driver of the car, a 46-year-old woman, has been bailed until late July. She was arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving after the incident. And more than 1,000 people have crossed the English Channel on small boats over the past 2 days. The Home Office says over 600 people were intercepted on Friday, and almost 400 made the journey yesterday. GB News understands more than 200 people were intercepted this morning. It brings this year's total to 12,700. The Home Office says the number of people risking their lives is unacceptable. TV, online, DAB+ radio and on TuneIn. This is GB News. Now it's over to headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie, and joining me tonight to make sense of Monday's newspapers are comedy comrades Paul Cox and Victor Daniels.
Hey.
How are you both? Look at you smiley guys.
Yeah, straight into the fake smiles to begin the show.
That's pretty cheesy.
I was crying just 2 minutes ago.
It's amazing, and I'm sorry about the violence. Let me just get that out of the way.
You expect that at GB News, John.
I know. Yeah, true.
Thanks, mate. How are you? No,
I wasn't expecting it to be turned.
No one
back onto
ever
me.
asks, do
Oh
they?
my God, look at you breaking those rules.
I know.
Yeah. And what about you, Victor? How you doing, mate?
I'm good. Nervous, but I'm good.
Look at that. You're just being honest, and that's endeared the audience out there. Right, let's get to it then. Let's look at Monday's front pages. First of all, the Daily Mail. Now BBC calls in police over sex pictures claim. The Telegraph. BBC calls in police over star sex scandal. Guardian exclusive. The secret stakes held BT MPs and top UK firms. Times, BBC refers sex photos presenter to Met Police. Financial Times, NATO allies pile pressure on Germany and US over Kyiv. Daily Star, sex pics, BBC calls in cops, and those are your very quick front pages. First of all, let's kick off with the Daily Mail, Paul.
Yes, now the BBC calls in police over sex pictures claim.
Well, Daily Mail are loving this. All the papers are loving this, aren't they?
It's across everything. It's the most sensational story of the time at the moment. So many questions, Josh. So many questions. It is real drama. I mean, the way this has been broadcast out to us via the Sun paper has led to just speculation all over the
So
shop.
that's the big question, which we have been specifically called and said,
We absolutely
do
won't.
not speculate who it is. The big bosses.
I have no idea, and I wouldn't dare speculate anyway.
We all know who it is.
Oh, right, OK, yeah, we do. However, go on, Victor, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I know everyone's speculating on who it is, but the biggest question that we have to ask is, do we get a refund on our
BBC licence fee.
license fee?
Very good. We
That's
should.
what we need to know.
OK, here we go.
Victor asking the big questions once again.
But I want to know.
Look at that. No, it's good. It's very, you want to fit right in here at GBNews, Victor.
Straight at the licence fee. Well, I want some money back. This is worth at least 26p a month.
I didn't pay to support any of this nonsense.
No, fair enough. Your money's being spent on crack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm offended.
I mean, I want to choose how much of my money gets spent on crack.
Yeah.
I don't want to just give it to someone for them to
Exactly.
spend on crack. It's not fair.
We're not saying no money should be spent on crack, are we?
Look, I'm not going to judge you. Let's just keep our personal lives out of this.
And they didn't give us any, so it's like,
Yeah,
I
fair
want my
enough.
money back.
It's such a scandal, though, isn't it? Once again. It's a sorry state of affairs, whether it's ITV and Philip Schofield or the BBC and whoever this is. There is behind this, obviously, a very serious story about a person who has been subjected to this, and a mother, a family that are incredibly concerned by it. We don't know any of the real details, though.
No.
It's utter
We
speculation.
don't even know if the victim is a man or a woman, a boy or a girl. Or
We don't
whatever.
know.
We know there were 17 at the time. That's what makes the act illegal, because you can't transmit images from until you're 18, basically. So that, I believe, is what makes
even
it
with
illegal.
consent.
Yes.
You can't do it even with consent. However, there's a lot to unpick here, because whilst along with everybody else probably out there, I was almost excited at first. You see this breaking on Twitter. You know, I'm out there, I'm a comedian, I'm making jokes about it, but you know, some quiet contemplation on my drive on the way up here. I was starting to think about, we've got this victim. There are a load of collateral victims at the moment, where you've got endless male presenters at the BBC are having to come out and say, look, this isn't me, which is terrible, and lots of accusations being thrown around, which is awful.
Quite funny as well.
It's extremely funny, and I'm pleased with the likes.
Don't try and bum me out, man. You're like...
But there is... I mean, somebody's been accused of something here without any real detail. We've just jumped straight on it straight away, and we've gone, this is brilliant.
Well, this is it. Even when the name does come out, this is exactly why names are withheld, because there is no actual evidence yet. We have someone's hearsay, and of course their reputation could be affected forever. So you're right, there are serious things here. At the same time, there was quite a lot of funniness on Twitter, because someone who, I believe it was Jeremy Vine that they accused, who's not the person, then someone accused, and I think it was Jeremy Vine, was saying, I'm going to sue you. And this person is just like, yeah, whatever, bring it on, I've been to prison, I don't care. That was quite funny.
Yeah, that is very funny.
Yeah.
Victor, what have you made of it? I mean, this is crazy, isn't it? Doesn't these sort of things... I mean, the one person who's probably happy about this is Philip Schofield.
Exactly, but to be honest with you, it seems like BBC ITV is a very dangerous place to work at, and I just want to let the viewers know at home, none of this stuff happens here at GB News.
None.
Yes.
Or I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, absolutely. All the photos that you have sent me, there's no monetary value.
Yeah,
at all.
It was purely friends.
Yeah, banter.
Banter, like you were talking about, like your workout regime and how the ab thing, and there was no sexual element to it.
And
all
also,
over
just to
17.
let viewers know, none of this stuff happens at Channel 5, so it's safe to watch Channel 5.
Wow, you're throwing it in. God, look at you.
Someone's looking for a job at Channel 5.
They've got some good daytime movies.
Fair enough, right. Well, look, let's move on to The Guardian, Victor. What are they going... Obviously, they've talked a little bit about this, but what's the other story they're going with?
The secret stakes held by MPs in top UK firms. To translate in English, what's going on here is the MPs are buying shares in companies, which is a bit of a conflict of interest. And I think it's fraud.
Fraud, we're going with fraud.
Oh, you look at you, coming in with that strong take straight away.
This has really upset me.
These are mostly which party do these people...
Well, the accusation...
Just say it, come on, Paul.
The accusation here is that it's mainly Tories, but it's not mainly Tories, actually.
It's mainly
Well, it is mainly Tories, because they're the shrewdest investors, of course. Okay. However, a lot of this is quite within the boundaries of the rules that are set out.
Yes. And that's what just one thing I need to say here. A lot of Nigerian people, the government in Nigeria, get accused of fraud. And one of the illegal things you can't do in Nigeria is you cannot invest in your MPs. So what they're doing here is actually illegal in Nigeria.
What, the MPs aren't allowed to invest in...
No, in companies are not allowed to...
Oh, I see.
MPs in Nigeria are not allowed to invest in companies.
OK.
Like they've done in
So you're
Britain.
telling me all that money I've been sending to this Nigerian MP actually might not exist?
Me too.
Wow, OK.
So it's like you're saying that the Nigerians are doing fraud when really the British government are doing fraud legally.
Well, it's technically not fraud as such, but there is, as you're saying, Paul, a problem of transparency here, because they are within the letter of the law, but there are arguments here to conflict of interest. Now, are there any specific ones that are mentioned in this article?
So where I would stand on this, there are, and they escape me right now. Sorry, Barclays is...
I'm just thinking specifically people having shares in oil and gas companies, and of course then you have the same people voting on whether these companies are going to get windfall taxes, which is going to affect the dividends that they get back.
And also to add, who is the person who set the laws that says that they can do it?
What the government did back in 2015. The rules changed in 2015. There's an upper limit of 70,000 and a percentage limit as well, which is in the order of 15% of a company. However, I personally don't have too much of an issue with them investing the money however they wish. But one thing I do agree on with everybody here is there should be utter transparency. So we should just see, because these politicians on a day-to-day basis are making decisions about policy that would affect directly the businesses they're invested in, and we should be able to see straight away which way they're voting. Well, maybe it should be illegal, but I'd be happy just with full transparency, and therefore maybe they're null and void from voting on certain things.
What would we do with transparency? What would that
no, because you can then see where these conflict of interests are. And then you can make, at least you can sort of, if they're voting slightly strange or against...
I feel there's a bit more of a free marketeer in me than yourself that wouldn't want to stop this level of investment. People should be able to do what they like with their money. I'd just like to know, if you're in public service like these people are, we should know what they're investing their money in and what they're making their decisions on.
But if you're an MP and you're meant to make the proper rules that helps the economy, then you shouldn't have no interest in investing.
Well, that's the argument, Peter. I agree.
There we go. Right. Next, we are going to the cover of the Daily Telegraph, Paul.
So we've got, obviously, the BBC again, but one of the other main stories here is about Biden. Here they're sort of saying that he's snubbing NATO membership. I'm not sure that he's snubbing it. What he is saying is that NATO membership is not... They're not quite ready. The Ukraine are not quite ready.
But our PM is pushing it.
He is.
And this is saying it's a snub to the PM, and of course Biden has a history of being, I would argue, slightly antagonistic towards this great country because of his affiliation with his Irish heritage, which he's got just as much English heritage as well.
Wow, that's some good
there is
research over there.
Well, this is... I mean,
I sit over there and I sit... This is Nick Dixon and Leo Kerr seeping into me. Sorry,
that's another claim. Another claim, outrageous claim.
Consensual.
That's another show.
Yeah.
One thing I would say about this is, yes, of course, against the backdrop of Biden coming to the UK and the way that he is perceived to be kind of anti-UK at the moment, or has been for a long time, particularly since we left the European Union, and he seems to lean very much on his Irish roots, like a lot of Americans do, by the way. Doesn't seem to matter how many generations it was back.
It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Well, everybody's got Irish roots.
Ukraine are fighting the whole of Russia, and they can't even let them into the party. Well, let's bang out of order.
What I would say...
But they're taking the drinks outside the party and putting the music, putting the stereo system in the window.
In the window,
So it's sort of like they're on the doorstep and they're hanging out and they're even taking hors d'oeuvres.
Because if you look at all the other members of NATO, none of them have gone up against Russia. Ukraine...
Man on man.
Have you watched Rocky V?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thanks.
America wins in the end. What I would say, though, is why join the club when you're already getting the benefits? And Ukraine are definitely getting the benefits of being in NATO. They're for all intents and purposes, being treated...
Well, no, the real benefits would be that America would actually fight the war for them. But that's
the big benefit.
That would be the big one. Let's have a look at another little story here. We have new trans self-ID law blocked in Germany. Did you get that particular story?
Absolutely did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. Transgender self-identification law has been blocked in the last minute in Germany over fears it will be abused by criminals. Now, where did they get that idea from? Had they looked
Scotland?
Yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, Isla Bryson. I mean, it's not fear; it's fact, isn't it? There is absolute fact and evidence to back up that this will happen. It's inevitable that it will happen.
It has happened.
It's already happened. I'm not saying that every. So what you're able to do if you're a male rapist and you happen to have raped women, you can then change your identification to be a woman, to get into women's prisons, not necessarily to continue your dastardly deeds, but certainly to get
attacks against women have happened by trans women in prisons. So that has happened across the world.
Okay, so go to a women's prison and basically live in paradise because you are a rapist.
Or just being a man, being a biological male, you're stronger than your fellow inmates.
Yeah.
You actually get treated. There's less threat of violence, and that's not to say that any genuine trans women out there don't deserve protection and safety in the male estate. There needs to be another solution, but just dumping them in with biological women is not the answer.
Why don't you have it like a trans prison?
Well, there you go.
Well, Victor, I mean, you're coming up with all the solutions tonight, mate.
Look, you're on fire today.
Flipping it,
Very
mate.
good. But this is a sign of a lot of laws that have been passed over the last 5 years or so that have sort of crept underneath the radar, and now, basically through mostly left-wing women fighting for women's rights, have raised the attention, and now people are going, oh, we do need to have a debate. So
absolutely we
do. Respect it. Right, finally, let us go to the Times, Victor. What are they going with?
Put a cork in it. Wimbledon drinkers told. Basically, during the matches, the rich guys from Hampstead are popping champagne while the players are serving.
That's disgusting.
Bang out of order.
Bang out of order.
That's a prison sentence.
And eating strawberries.
Yeah, and eating
loudly.
Loudly. Come on.
Yeah.
That's what destroyed my Wimbledon career. I mean, the noise.
I've never been. Josh, you strike me as the sort of person who may have been to Wimbledon.
I have been once, yes.
Have you?
Yeah, once, yes, thank you. I mean, look...
Of course he has. Come on.
Look, like, you're
it's a rite of passage.
I'm part of the elite because someone had a ticket once.
I thought we connected, but now I'm seeing
I'm not street anymore, mate.
No, you're not.
Oh,
You've lost
mate.
it.
Oh, come on. Right, well, yes, that is obviously slightly ridiculous. And we've also got a story here at the top.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, the judges have urged to get tough on Just Stop Oil protesters. Now, I don't think anyone here disagrees with that. I'm getting to the point now where I'm running out of ways of describing Just Stop Oil. They have absolutely tarnished the whole purpose of what they're trying to achieve.
Talking about them a little bit.
They are a little bit.
Let's just quickly sum this up. Do you think that there is a danger, of course, if they're talking about getting tough on these particular protesters, then we could be talking about, in the future, getting tough on all protesters with much more valid causes and also not being as incredibly annoying and smug.
So they're a test.
So I am kind of against silencing them in any way. I just think that maybe they should be put in a place to do it. So not in the middle of the road stopping people going to work. Rwanda, great choice.
Well, there we go. That's all for part one. Coming up, we have Keir Starmer hippie bashing, net zero scepticism, and are people getting too old? What a question. See you in two.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, it remains unsettled, low pressure in charge of our weather. We'll see showers and longer spells of rain over the coming days, and it will turn a little cooler as well. And we can see that area of low pressure just been sat to the west of us, but it does start to push eastwards over the next few days, increasing the risk of some longer spells of rain, some heavy showers continuing as well. Today's heavy showers will fade away through the evening time, and then overnight it will be largely dry. Plenty of clear spells, but then later on we could start to see some showers moving back into southwestern areas. The risk of some patchy rain across the far north of Scotland too, and under the clear spells in towns and cities, temperatures around 14, 15 degrees, a little fresher in the countryside. So for most on Monday morning, it's a bright start, plenty of sunny spells, but the clouds gather from the southwest with outbreaks of rain quickly pushing into parts of the West Country, Wales, pushing its way northwards as we move through the day. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Around it, we'll see sunny spells and scattered heavy showers. Best of the sunshine towards southeast England here, highs of 23 or 24. Generally the high teens to low 20s elsewhere. If you're stuck under the rain, it'll be quite a chilly feel. That rain pushes northwards and fragments as we move through the evening, and then further rain pushes in from the southwest as we move through into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Some of this rain will also be heavy. So quite a lot of cloud around means temperatures again holding up in the mid-teens to take us into Tuesday morning, which will be a bit of an unsettled start to the day. Showers and longer spells of rain, but I'm hopeful as we move through the day we will see more in the way of sunny spells developing. But again, some of the showers through the day on Tuesday could be heavy, perhaps more focused across the north and the west of the UK. And temperatures under the cloud a little disappointing for the time of year. Staying unsettled over the next few days, further showers and temperatures around average.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie, and joining me tonight are Paul Had a Lot of Cox. Whoa. And Victor Vicky D. Daniel. Just read that one there. Thank you, producer, for putting that in the auto.
Word for word.
Right. Staying with The Guardian. And Victor, protests at George Osborne's wedding were wrong and shouldn't happen at his next wedding, right?
So I'm just going to go with the title first. It just says, Just Stop Oil applauds Osborne wedding protester but denies responsibility. And it goes on to say, group thanks woman who threw confetti at former Chancellor's wedding but urges people to focus on out of control global heating. What I love about this is, Martin Luther King, he marched. When there's wars, they've marched. There's been riots. They all got it wrong. We should have just thrown confetti at someone's wedding.
There we go. Wow.
Who knew?
This is what's going to make their message break through. I mean, do you believe them, Paul? Do you believe that she's not affiliated? Because it seems like there's been quite a lot of You know, they've stopped sports events before, but this is the first. This seems like a genuine, visceral repulsion to step in on someone's happy day, even if it's George Osborne. Like, it's still disgusting.
I mean, they're starting to use the rhetoric employed by religious extremists. I mean, this sounds like a lone wolf, just stop oil protester. I mean, I can believe it was a lone wolf as well, because she had a Union Jack box which she was taking the orange confetti out of, and I don't believe it's Just Stop Oil policy to have the Union Jack displayed at any point.
She got it wrong.
I think back at HQ they'll say, look,
they can have words.
8 out of 10.
Well, there we go. Sorry for him being tangoed. Monday's INEX and a poll that has net zero influence, Paul.
Yeah, nearly half of Tory MPs think achieving net zero is not necessary to stop climate change, poll finds. I think this can be... This is seen, across the whole demographic of the UK. I think I'd go as far as saying 2/3 of people believe that net zero by 2030 is not achievable, and because it's ridiculous, and they don't believe that this is.
The story. It's 2050 though. Is
this okay? Net zero. This is 2050. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point stands is that it's an impossible target still. I think even at 2050. I'll tell you for why. Because we still don't have a plan in place to achieve it right now. They'll say there's a plan, right, we're going to go to reusables, but we don't. Where are they? We haven't got a substantial tested system that allows us to move to. So until we do, we've got to have a smorgasbord available to us of wind on one side and green on one side, and then coal and nuclear and fracking, if it has to be, on the other side, so that we can remain sustainable. One thing I would say is I don't think that the Tory MPs here are out of touch at all. And I think what's happened is not only do people have struggled to grasp it and they're not completely tuned into the whole climate catastrophe as we're sold, but things like Just Stop Oil that we were just talking about are also helping people just to become ambivalent about it. They don't care anymore. I don't think people care about... because all they're seeing is a nuisance and zealots overreacting.
OK, I think there is truth to that, but Victor, would you agree that it's not necessarily about questioning the science behind climate change or that it's happening? I think most people agree with that. But what never seems to have been consulted to the general public is this idea of net zero, but more specifically, what these policies are, how they're going to be achieved. That seems to be something that's just kind of like the experts or whoever it is, well, I say the experts like it's about, yeah, that's great, they're experts, but there hasn't been consultation with the public, right?
Well, just like, I'm with the Tory MPs. I don't know what they're talking about. But what I do understand is that they're using this as a way of just making money off the UK public with parking and all the things that this is just designed to make money. They don't care if it's going to reach a particular target at 2050.
I think
That's my take.
I think it's a really good point. I think the way that'll be proven or not proven is when, like with ULEZ, let's say they reach a target of 100% of cars meeting the ULEZ criteria. You can't tell me that at that point they're just going to stop charging people to enter into London. They'll just carry on the charge and find another reason why. Now, I might be being very cynical about that, but that's where the evidence is going to be in terms of, is this just a tax and fine situation, or do they genuinely care?
Yes, we're going to find out, right. The Times now, and breaking news, Keir Starmer finally shows emotion, Victor.
I love this. I hate tree huggers. Wow. Keir Starmer explodes over green policy. Check this out here. Ed Miliband gave an animated PowerPoint presentation to the shadow cabinet. So he's coming to work. He's got this presentation ready.
Eager to please.
Yeah, and he goes on his revolutionary energy policy. So he's really thought about this at home. He's got his PowerPoint. He's on fire. Speaking excitedly of the hope and change he believes this will bring. Now, wait for it. His reception from Sir Keir Starmer, however, was decidedly lukewarm. Starmer thanked him for the presentation, but said he wasn't interested. He then said he was not only he was not interested, he doesn't even like tree huggers. That's like the BBC Apprentice and Sir Alice Sugar just going, "You're fired, mate."
Well,
That's basically what
that's
happened.
the first time we've had a headliner deliver a story in the fashion of a child's story. It's just like you were just reading it to your kids, we're like, and then what happened next, Daddy?
I was massively invested then as well.
It was beautiful.
So this is him showing emotion. There is an interesting thing. Look, Keir Starmer and the people he surrounded himself immediately with, their primary focus is to win the elections.
Yeah.
There are other people in the Labour Party very much pushing this green agenda, and it seems like Keir Starmer and those he surrounds himself with, I think you'd agree, Paul, it seems like from this is they are afraid of that kind of that green agenda getting in the way of them winning elections.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they probably mean that. It sounds a bit David Brent of him, doesn't he? He can just sort of sit there leaning back in his chair saying, I don't like tree huggers.
I hate it, tree huggers.
Tree huggers, you're joking, yeah? But I'm quite cynical about this because I absolutely agree with what you're saying. There's a lot of politics at play here, and I think this story has come out, and it's of great advantage to Keir Starmer for it to come out. He's got a cabinet of, he's got a senior cabinet member in Ed Miliband saying we need to do this. And he's saying, whoa there, that's not what the people want. That's not what I want.
And he's right.
And he is right, but I don't know. It doesn't sound very Keir Starmer.
You think it could be leaked from within?
Well, I also think it's kind of contrived. It'd be interesting to see. I'm fully expecting Keir Starmer to be the next Prime Minister. I'm half expecting him to say things like this, but cave in immediately, and before you know it...
We'll see. I'm still quietly optimistic.
I hope so.
I do agree with you, though. There's all chance that this could have been leaked from within. Finishing this section with a Telegraph story where they massively diss their own readers, Paul.
I know, exactly. Britain's ageing population poses a long-term threat to the economy and will affect interest rates for decades to come, Andrew Bailey says. Now, Andrew Bailey is the governor of the Bank of England, and I don't know why, but we seem to have got to a stage now where it's absolutely OK just to have a pop at old people for everything. They haven't chosen to live this long. They are a product of healthy lives, of technology, of living in a first world country like Britain where they can thrive and live. The purpose of the head of the Bank of England is to manage the economy against risks like this. This isn't news. This is just distraction. It's like, mate, just get on with it. You know we have an ageing population. Why pick on them? We don't pick on any other generation, do we? We don't say, oh, there's a load of... Well, we do, but not in terms of the economy.
I mean, that's the question. Is he picking on him, Victor? Because it seems to me he's identifying a problem that's a very real problem. It's not just a problem for the UK, right?
No,
he's not just picking on them. He's making me think, what does he want us to do to them? They're getting too old, and you suggest what exactly? I mean, and what is too old in nowadays? I mean, they can work from home.
Also, this is not the sort... I don't think this
From a home, depends on...
home help.
And they are expensive, by the way.
Well, you know what? Someone told me the other day that actually it's cheaper to go on a cruise than it is to...
100%.
And families are putting their relatives on cruises for like 6 months.
You will not get change out of £5,000 a month minimum.
Seriously?
I've been through this situation with family members.
Sorry. Children at home, if you're watching this, my kids, do not send me to a care home when I get old. A cruise, apparently, will save you so much money.
And also, Victor's kids, could you please go to bed?
Well, I go watch it at 5 in the morning.
You basically don't have any savings, because if you do, then probably rightly so, you'll have to pay for your ageing parents' care, and it's very, very expensive. My point still stands, though. We've known for a long time that we've got a greater population, and they're getting older, and they're healthier, and therefore we've got to pay for it. This hasn't crept up. But there's an interesting point, I think, raised in this article, which is banks can't solve this. It's not banks' responsibility to solve this. It has to be policy and it has to come from our government. Right, that is it for part 2. But coming up, we have Musk versus Zuck, Battle Royale, veganism in decline, and the French ban on fireworks. See you in a minute.
Welcome back to Headliners, and resuming with Monday's Telegraph, where marriage and selfies don't mix. Victor.
Yeah, basically what they're saying is social media undermining the Christian marriage ceremony. They're saying a lot of people nowadays, rather than getting married in the church, they rather get married in places such as homes, fields, forests, beaches, even cruise ships. And I'm with them. It's cheaper.
Certainly if you're old, as we were discussing in the last section there. Yeah, I mean, Paul, what do you think of this? It seems like the church is sort of acting in its self-interest. They're kind of like, oh, look at this, it's disgusting, the commercialisation of marriage. You should get married in a church where we will charge you 600 quid to get married.
Yeah, well, that's the point, and we've talked about this just recently, actually. And you know, if they want people to come and get married in church, then they should be encouraging them to do so by scrapping the £600 fee and letting people make their church wedding in their own image.
And maybe put a church on a cruise ship.
Yeah, make it Instagram ready.
Yes, exactly. Get that vicar to pluck those nose hairs.
Get some of them windows down there.
Fine. Good news now for vegans in the metro. Shame they're too weak to celebrate it, Paul.
Yes,
it's a bit of a hack joke there. I apologise.
I think I had at least 2 of them lined up anyway, so I'm glad you did it. Veganism is not in decline, despite sales of meat alternatives falling. Vegan and vegetarian groups have hit back at suggestions that interest in their diet is in decline. I mean, this is a classic case of lots of people trying vegan food because it fills our supermarkets and food shops now, and deciding they hate it, they don't like it. There's a reason they're trying to imitate bacon. It's that bacon tastes really delicious. And the same with all the other things that they're trying to imitate.
Incredibly offensive comment to this Jewish man.
And I'm sorry, I realised I was saying that halfway through, but I just couldn't back out.
You said it with such glee. Bacon's delicious, Josh. Ha ha.
I mean, I can't take it back. I really do believe it.
Well, I'm not sure about this, actually, because, Victor, there's arguments here within the article that actually it's just people price cutting because of cost of living across all.
Because I tried the vegan thing, and that Lindy McCartney range was a bit high for me. I mean, £2.50 for a pie.
It's
when
not
I
cheap.
can go to Cottage Chicken, get 4 chicken wings and chips for $2.99. I mean, it makes more sense.
Yeah. When it's cheaper to actually get the meat, which also arguably gives you some more mineral benefits and flavour and all of the other stuff. Yeah, so
I mean, I went a bit hard on the vegans there because their imitation meat is rubbish. However, it is expensive as well. It's a good point. I mean, why would you in this climate, in this crisis? Why would you pay extra for fake meat?
Well, it's interesting, but what they're saying is that it seems the big problem is cheese. Vegan cheese is not particularly good.
It's not nice.
And sticking with the Jewish.
Just meat.
No, but Israel has a very good vegan dairy products because you can't eat meat and milk, so they've sort of invented these kind of fake cheese. I'm just saying, not just Israel.
He's plugging Israel.
I'm plugging
cheese.
Israel and it's cheese. There we go. Right. The Daily Mail next, and it's Musk versus Zuckerberg in a cage fight, or as I call it, robot wars. Who's your money on, Victor?
Look here, the first sentence: Zuck is a
cuck.
See, I didn't want to say it.
What is a cuck?
It's a billionaire cuss word. I don't know what it means. It's not on the street.
It's not street. So it's what rich people say to each other, isn't it?
So cucking is where you might pay or instruct another man to make love to your wife while you watch.
This is over my
So
head.
you are very...
That's what it's called.
So you're very submissive.
Saturday night, eh? Sorry.
This sounds normal against you guys. No, I'm just...
I mean, no. I had to read up. I was unaware.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't.
It carries to say Elon Musk escalating his war of words with Mark Zuckerberg. That's a good name, Zuckerberg. Over protecting brand speech on his new Thread app. Have you tried his new?
I'm not on Thread yet. Are you on Thread yet?
I did join, and then I immediately saw something on Twitter that someone had put up a post on Thread saying there are only 2 biological sexes, and it had been censored. So that was like, you know what? I don't need another social media thing. I don't need to get abuse on another platform. I'll just stick to Twitter and just receive enough abuse.
And it's like, Thread is exactly the same as Twitter. It's like me bringing out a range of trainers called Mike instead of Nike. It's exactly the same thing. How he got away with it, I don't know.
They've gone with cut because it rhymes with Zuck. And they couldn't really go anywhere else, could they?
He's got good speech writers, but at the same time,
I'm impressed.
There's an argument here, really, whether you can sort of protect something like Twitter. I mean, it's text essentially, so. It's not like you can also protect book. Like you can sue someone because someone else came up with a book. Like the actual medium itself isn't arguably that original. It's just texts. to a lot of people.
I'm told
it's exactly the same.
I'm told it's more akin to Instagram with... like a hybrid of Instagram and Twitter. So Instagram with text.
Okay, well, I want to know, is Tom from MySpace going to get on in this fight action?
Well, who knows?
Right, let's head over to this story in the Eye about France's latest attempt to stop riots. I'm sure it won't miss fire, Paul.
Oh, lovely work there,
Thank you
Josh.
very much.
Super duper.
Felt pretty good when I wrote that joke.
And you are here all week.
Yeah.
France bans fireworks and attempt to crack down on unrest ahead of Bastille Day celebrations after riots. I would imagine that fireworks are one of the least of their problems. They should be banning petrol bombs and unrestricted immigration. They've got a whole heap of problems in France, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. No, Victor, please.
I was just going to say, to stop all of this, they should just ban police killing people. That will just stop the riot.
And look at you with your hot takes.
Fire.
That's the third suggestion now that's going to sort of save the world.
I'm getting used to this.
You're good at this, man. I don't know what to say when you come up with these hot takes. I'm like, oh, man, why didn't I think of that? But you're absolutely right. I think police killing people is... I think we agree that's bad, isn't it?
It is bad. Did you see the footage of the police, a special unit of the police, arresting the brother of the man who was killed by the police?
No, I've not seen that.
2017. So today, very strong footage. You know, they really go in. There's no evidence of this man being violent, and they were. It's like this guy died under police authority. That's what the protest's for.
Yep.
And then you got this footage of his brother with the police with their knees on the neck and all this stuff. It's like, what are you doing?
Are they doing it on purpose? Are they trying to antagonise riots?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make
Well, it's a big
sense.
question. I don't know the answer to it. But
That's not helping.
no, it's certainly not. And there's too much of it.
But let's ban the fireworks.
Well, exactly. The argument, will it make any difference whatsoever?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
OK, right. Tail end this section is Monday's Telegraph, and my British flag tattoo might finally come in useful, Victor, apart from getting me this job.
New build housing development to ban unpatriotic owners. So basically, in a nutshell, they want to build houses, and if you want to buy one, you've got to be over 55. But more importantly, you've got to have an American flag.
American flag? No one told me that.
It's in America.
It's in America, right.
So
Too soon.
It's
No
not
Jewish, no Nigerian flags.
Oh, wait.
It has to be American.
OK, then, wow. So, I mean, what do you think of that? First of all, the over 55 thing is quite interesting.
I think that's a good idea.
Oh, really? You just want to live with people over 55?
No, because it's hard for someone over 55 to get a property because of their age.
Not in America, I wouldn't have thought. There's loads of land out there.
But that's an interesting thing. What do you think about this flag situation, Victor?
Well, I just think that people are just going to say, OK, I'll do that, because the houses seem relatively cheaper. And then when the people go, they're just going to put the flag down. Up, down, up, down. They come in, put the flag up, they come in, put the flag down.
Well, they're referring to something here called the 1776 Standards.
I know, which I thought was remarkable. It
Yeah.
said buyers will be expected to abide by a 1776 standard.
Which is what? No electricity, outside toilet.
I mean, I'm not sure that they've actually checked...
Slavery.
Have they checked the standard of 1776? So I don't think it's progressive.
Is that what they meant?
That's what they mean.
No, they're not.
No, not slavery, but...
They're not saying... They're not reintroducing slavery.
They're talking
No,
patriotism.
I got that.
But, Paul, the owner of this idea or concept is saying this is apolitical. Do you agree with him, really?
Well, the interesting thing is it probably is against the Constitution, because the Constitution is relatively apolitical in the sense that it's for everybody, and what this is trying to achieve is the principal goals of the Constitution of America, which is, you know, the pursuit of fun times and guns.
Yeah, very, very well educated, yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about moving onto an estate that
We probably wouldn't live there.
I don't think that would be right for me. But if it's cheaper than London homes, then I'll...
Well, that's it. You know what, actually, thinking about that, we'll take what we're given, right? Right, that's all for part 3, but coming up in the final section, we'll have the fattest countries in the world, a.k.a. Scotland. What? Whoever's writing this audio is trying to get me in trouble. What went wrong with television and why poor men shouldn't meet a partner. Oh, that's the alternate word. Stay tuned, party people. Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. Let's get straight to it and kicking off with Monday's Times with a story criticising modern television. Present company excluded.
I'd imagine and would hope so. From the golden age to drowning in dross. What went wrong with TV? We used to have The Sopranos. Now we have MILF Manor. Now, I don't know what MILF Manor is, but you can bet your house that as soon as this is finished, I am going to find out.
Right, you know what? I didn't know what it is either. Do you know what it is, Victor?
I'm going to find out.
It's a lot of women. I believe MILFs is the derogatory term, like women in their 50s, 60s, in a house with the sons, and the sons hook up with the different mums.
Wow.
So, I mean, I shouldn't have said that because now everyone's switching over from this show.
Yeah, when is it?
Yeah.
Can I get an audition?
Yeah, you know what? There is some reality TV that's good. I think this is an interesting article. Do you agree, Victor? Is television on the decline?
I think television is on the decline, and I think people watch reality shows because they're the only ones that have characters that we are familiar with. I think the TV shows, they come up, everyone sounds like a middle-aged white person.
Well, that
doesn't matter if they're black, white, or what. They just all sound like middle white.
Well, that's a really interesting idea because I think the thing that this article fails to mention is the ideology that's crept into and become prominent on these TV shows, which is this kind of white middle-class ideology that is now dominating instead of something called story or narrative.
Yeah.
And this article, whilst I think it's a pretty good article, does fail utterly to mention that. And of course, Channel 4, that's the channel that sort of shows how is the most affected and cancelled the most shows, is arguably the most woke or progressive channel.
Because all creativity's gone out the window. They basically they start with an agenda. They say this is what we'd like to do, but we need to crowbar this agenda in.
Fortunately, you don't get any of that at GBNews. No agendas whatsoever. On to The Guardian, and for anyone under 40, is this the only chance of owning your own home, Victor?
Could you live in a house that had been the scene of a murder?
Ooh.
The house history is as grim as it is experienced. Basically, in 1980, 2 pensioners were brutally murdered, and now the house is up for sale. People in London, I know what you're thinking. That's going to be one of the most cheapest houses ever, because that's what I'm thinking. After the show, we're going to go hunt this house down.
Don't tell them.
Buy it.
They'll be with you.
Yeah, would you very quickly? Would you live in a house that had been?
Yeah, I don't think I'd have a problem. I'm a bit of a capitalist. If I could get it cheaper and sell it on for more money, yeah.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Right, we go very, very quickly. We're going to go to the Daily Mail next, giving us what we want. Fat People International, Paul.
Absolutely. So the world's biggest eaters revealed people in the US consume an average of 3.8k calories, so 3,800 calories per day, but they are only the second because Bahrain consume 4,000 calories a day. Now, I don't think it's a surprise that the 2 of the most wealthiest countries in the world can afford to gorge themselves to death. I mean, I don't really know what people want. I mean, I don't know what they call them either. These are substantially beautiful people, I assume now. They're not overweight, are they? But they must be if they're...
Well, there we go. Well, thank you for making us feel good that we're way down on that list. The show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Monday's front pages. The Daily Mail, now BBC calls in police over sex pictures claim. The Telegraph, BBC calls in police over star sex scandal. Guardian, exclusive, the secret stakes held by MPs in top UK firms. Times, BBC refers sex photos presenter to Met Police. Financial Times, NATO allies pile pressure on Germany and US over Kyiv. Daily Star, sex pics, BBC calls in the cops. And those are your front pages. That is it for tonight's show. Thank you very much to Paul and Victor. Absolute pleasure having you both here. And Headliners back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Simon Evans. And if he's feeling better, Nick Dixon. If you're watching at 5 a.m, then either go to bed or stick around for the breakfast show. But for now, it's good night or good morning. Thank you.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, it remains unsettled, low pressure in charge of our weather. We'll see showers and longer spells of rain over the coming days, and it will turn a little cooler as well. And we can see that area of low pressure just being sat to the west of us, but it does start to push eastwards over the next few days, increasing the risk of some longer spells of rain, some heavy showers continuing as well. Today's heavy showers will fade away through the evening time, and then overnight it will be largely dry. Plenty of clear spells, but then later on we could start to see some showers moving back into southwestern areas. The risk of some patchy rain across the far north of Scotland too. And under the clear spells in towns and cities, temperatures around 14, 15 degrees, a little fresher in the countryside. So for most on Monday morning, it's a bright start, plenty of sunny spells, but the clouds gather from the southwest with outbreaks of rain quickly pushing into parts of the West Country, Wales, pushing its way northwards as we move through the day. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Around it, we'll see sunny spells and scattered heavy showers. Best of the sunshine towards southeast England here, highs of 23 or 24. Generally the high teens to low 20s elsewhere. If you're stuck under the rain, it'll be quite a chilly feel. That rain pushes northwards and fragments as we move through the evening, and then further rain pushes in from the southwest as we move through into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Some of this rain will also be heavy. So quite a lot of cloud around means temperatures again holding up in the mid-teens to take us into Tuesday morning, which will be a bit of an unsettled start to the day. Showers and longer spells of rain, but I'm hopeful as we move through the day we will see more in the way of sunny spells developing. But again, some of the showers through the day on Tuesday could be heavy, perhaps more focused across the north and the west of the UK. And temperatures under the cloud a little disappointing for the time of year. Staying unsettled over the next few days, further showers and temperatures around average.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. The Met Police has confirmed it's received initial contact from the BBC over claims a male presenter paid a teenager for sexually explicit images. They've also said that no formal referral or allegation has been made. It's also said we will require additional information before determining what further action should follow. Well, earlier, the young person's mother told The Sun she saw a photo of the man in his underwear on her child's phone. The Director-General, Tim Davie, has confirmed the BBC was aware of a complaint in May and has been investigating the case ever since. In a statement, he also condemned the unsubstantiated rumours being made on the internet about some of the corporations presenting talent. More than 1,000 people have crossed the English Channel on small boats over the past 2 days. The Home Office says over 600 people were intercepted on Friday and almost 400 made the journey yesterday. Despite storm warnings, conditions are calm, and GB News understands more than 200 people have already been intercepted this morning. It brings this year's total to 12,700. The Home Office says the number of people risking their lives is unacceptable. The US President is on his way to the UK. He's due to arrive this evening at Stansted Airport. Joe Biden will meet the King at Windsor Castle tomorrow before holding talks with the Prime Minister at Downing Street. He's expected to raise concerns about Brexit and America's decision to send cluster munitions to Ukraine. Well, Joe Biden's visit comes ahead of the NATO summit in Lithuania, where the Prime Minister will urge allies to bolster their defence spending. Speaking in Vilnius on Tuesday, Rishi Sunak's expected to say we're seeing unprecedented security challenges. The UK remains one of the few NATO members meeting the alliance's requirement to spend at least 2% of national income on defence. Police say they're investigating a possible hate-related incident in County Tyrone. It's after the Irish flag and a picture of the Premier, Leo Varadkar, was placed on top of a bonfire. There was also a boat with a banner which read, "Good Friday Agreement, that ship has sailed." The pyre was later set alight. PSNI Chief Inspector John Kears says evidence is now being gathered to establish whether a criminal offence has been committed. Just Stop Oil has denied any involvement in the stunt at the former Chancellor's wedding yesterday. The group posted a video of a woman throwing orange confetti at George Osborne and his wife Thea Rogers, but it's now saying it wasn't responsible. Just Stop Oil, however, applauded the move, which generated publicity for its cause. TV, online, DAB+, radio and on TuneIn. You're with GB News. Now it's over to Free Speech Nation.
An activist at Trans Pride calls on the crowd to punch feminists, the Crown Prosecution Service goes woke, and the Archbishop of York claims that the Our Father is offensive. This is Free Speech Nation. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. This is the show where we look at culture, current affairs and politics. And of course, we're going to have the latest from those lovable culture warriors. If you've not seen the clip of a lone eco-zealot ruining the former Chancellor George Osborne's wedding yesterday, that will definitely ruffle some feathers. But also, coming up on the show tonight, widely dubbed as Britain's strictest head teacher, Catherine Birbalsingh joins us to explain why she's accused the Labour MP Jess Phillips of racist and bullying behaviour after a Twitter row sparked by the death of Tina Turner. There's a lot to unpack there. We're going to be joined by the founders of LGB Alliance, who of course won their case against the trans charity Mermaids this week, who are attempting to strip them of their charitable status. And comedian Andrew Lawrence will be here to give us a taste of his upcoming stand-up tour, his first since being cancelled following accusations of racist jokes. And of course, myself and my fantastic panel will be answering questions from our beautiful studio audience. All that and much more tonight on Free Speech Nation. My studio guests this evening are Diane Spencer and Bruce Devlin. I must say, We have a very attractive audience tonight because normally they can be a bit hit and miss, but this lot are lovely, aren't they?
Oh, some of the faces in here could have stopped trains. So tonight, genuinely, is an absolute delight. So well done, everyone, for your genetics.
You weren't supposed to comment on how people look.
Oh, this is GB News. We can do what we want. But let's get some questions from the view. Let's see if their intellect matches their looks. OK, so we're going to go... We've got a question from Michael. Where's Michael? Hello, Michael.
Oh, pretty but dumb.
Don't prejudge, Bruce. We haven't heard
Is the word father offensive?
Is the word father offensive? I presume this is about the Archbishop of York. Of course, this week, you'll know this if you've been following the news, the Archbishop of York has said that the Our Father, the prayer that we all say, could be problematic. He said it could have patriarchal connotations. Well, yeah. It's called the Our Father, right? So that inherently has patriarchal connotations. Why are they doing that, Diane? I mean, is it...
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting because they should really look at the whole speech, because if you mishear things... I used to think it was Our Father who does art in heaven, and I was like, that sounds great!
Not a religious child, then?
I tried, I just flunked it.
OK.
I mean, what you've got now is you've got, like, a group of people who are like... Oh, no, I think that God belongs to me, and so I'm going to be a lady priest.
Right.
And I'm going to say that Our Father, well, we all know secretly it's just a universal being that probably hasn't got male genitalia or could have everybody's
I don't think people are
genitalia.
actually saying that God is either male or female, but the point is there's a kind of tradition, there's a convention that they address him as Our Father, because otherwise it gets confusing. If you're going to start using gender-neutral pronouns...
Oh, yeah, so what would you say? Our almighty... Yeah, but our almighty being is pretty... You know exactly who you're talking to as a pronoun.
I don't know. Do you find it sexist, Bruce, to refer to God as a he?
Not really. I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of grew up thinking Jesus wasn't my friend, so I haven't had much more to do. Yeah, like, that's just
that's
the way
all
of
to do
it.
with your background, isn't it?
I think it's to do with some of my hobbies and interests at the factory. But, yeah, so I'm just, like, really... And it's kind of like, where are people getting all this time?
Well, there's that.
Like, really?
But I also don't understand why an archbishop is raised. I get it from the activists and all the rest of it, but I don't understand why an archbishop does it.
It's because they haven't got much of a... Their congregation is getting smaller and smaller. And,
oh, it's PR.
Yeah,
you think it's PR?
It's PR.
Massive PR, like, because...
Well, we're all talking about it.
Yeah, we're talking about it now. They want to get people into the church, and they're saying, oh, look, it's not as strict as it used to be. See, look, God could be in anything.
We're cool and trendy.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to sell that. Are they the Church of England?
Not in those dresses,
no,
they're not.
It's not going to work. OK, we're going to move on to a question now from Gareth. Who is Gareth? You're Gareth. Hello, Gareth. What's your question?
Should white pupils be excluded from certain classes?
Yeah, so this is... No, that sounds mad. But there was a case this week. This is a primary school in Haringey where they were basically putting on these Saturday school places for children, but they said that the only children who could be there were people who were from ethnic minority groups. Now, Bruce, my problem with this is, I think we need to just stop hyper-racialising absolutely everything, particularly when it comes to kids, right? If there are kids who need extra support, extra lessons at the weekend, why do we have to single them out according to race? Why not just single them out according to their needs?
Well, I was a child who I feel was failed by the education system.
Weren't we all?
No, seriously, I do, though. So I don't understand any level of segregation, and I completely agree with you, to help people that need help.
Yeah.
Not because of, what they identify as, or, their religion, or their colour, or any of that kind of stuff. I think it's ridiculous.
It's very interesting the way that the sort of identitarian movement works is that it does tend to see people in terms of their group identity before anything else, before their individuality. And the problem with that, of course, Diane, is that actually white kids are doing pretty badly on the grand scheme of things if you want to divide it up racially. But I wouldn't even go that. I wouldn't even do that. I'd say, look, why don't we just, treat kids as kids?
This is absolutely appalling. I'm sorry, but it is, because having been a teacher, you were a teacher as well.
I was
a teacher. Like, you know that literacy is an issue for a lot of